everyone. Welcome to Mission to Inspire. My name is Shola, as you know, and we've got our wonderful guest here with us today. Her name is Stacy Barnes. She's from Texas. She's a real estate agent. She's an author. She's a Christian. She'll be talking to us today about something. She's written books, so she'll be talking about a devotional today. Anyway, mainly that's what we'll be talking about today. And the topic we're talking about today is titled Overcoming Shattered Dreams. So a lot of people have dreams, and for some reason that dream is shattered for whatever reason, and they can't pursue that dream. But she's here to talk about how we can overcome that today. So Stacy, please introduce yourself.
Well, hello, Shola. Thank you so much for having me on your show. So I have been a Christian since I was a little girl, and I grew up in a Christian family in a very small town. And early on, kind of in my as I went through my teenage years, I kind of went through a period of some issues, and as I did that, I felt like God was just really there for me and really. Uh, he really just showed up, and so that kind of it really shaped my whole adult life as well, because I felt like I didn't have that. While I knew Jesus and I knew God, I didn't have that relationship, and so it became really important and pivotal in my life because of those things that I went through. So I have 4 children. I raised them also in the church. I have 6 grandchildren.
Oh my goodness.
And I've been married to my husband for 31 years.
Wow.
So yeah, and I think you mentioned I do real estate, but I also write. I've been a writer pretty much my whole life. From the time I was little, I was always encouraged in school. My teachers, I remember specifically my ninth grade English teacher pulling me aside and encouraging me to consider writing as a career. I did. I worked as a journalist and a managing editor of a newspaper for a time, and so writing is just is something that I love.
Ah, great. So your latest book is the devotional Damaged Goods. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Right. We are really interested in that because
Right. Yeah, and so the reason that I focused on that and did a devotional is that I started kind of looking back at my life. My children were grown. I've had these grandchildren, and I'm looking at how blessed I feel and how grateful that I am to God for the blessings that He's given me. And as I'm doing that, I've just really felt prompted that, you know, I went through some really difficult things, and God was really there for me, and He really pulled me through that. And I felt like God was telling me other people could benefit from hearing that. It could encourage them as they're going through their difficult walk.
right.
To So that's why I wanted to do that, and I wanted it to be a devotional because I want to point it towards God, and because in my opinion, these are God stories of how He helped me as this wayward child. He really helped me and how He pulled me through, and I want the focus to be on God, not on me. But I think that people relate well to other people who've gone through similar situations, even if it's not the same thing. We
Yeah,
all go through trials. No one gets through life unscathed.
that's true.
So I feel like we all can connect in that realm, and then I'm hoping that I can encourage them if they're in that and they're going through that.
Thank you so much. I forgot to say that Stacy, she is an award-winning journalist as well. She's edited so many books, over 1,000 published articles. Oh my God. Wow, 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 wow.
Yes, that was when I was writing for the newspaper, and
Right.
they're small publications. There were 3 different ones, and you're just writing all the time and doing all these meeting such interesting people. That was a very interesting part of my life. I really enjoyed.
Okay, thank you so much. We're gonna go into the this or that questions, and we are asking you 5 questions. So honest
Okay.
answers.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, the first one is this: friction or non-friction?
So if I'm writing, I always have loved writing fiction, actually. So it's
Okay.
interesting that my book is nonfiction, but I did it that way because I wanted to tell that story and connect with people. I have another book that I'm wanting to write, and it will be more of the nonfiction.
Oh, okay, great. Good to know. So friction it is for you then. Your
Yes.
favorite travel destination? Is it a beach
Um,
resort or mountain retreat? Where would you like to go? Where's your favorite?
Well, if I had to choose between mountains and beach, I would choose beach all day long. But my husband and I, for our 30th anniversary, we went to Europe. We went to the Amalfi Coast and we went to Greece. And I would go back there in a heartbeat. Either one, probably specifically Italy. I want to do more exploring in Italy, but we loved Greece as well.
Okay, next one. Ice cream flavor. What's your ice cream flavor? Classic vanilla or adventurous rocky road?
I would probably go classic vanilla, but I do like to put toppings on it, not just plain.
Don't we all like the toppings?
Right.
Okay, next one. Preferred time for writing. You're an author. Do you like early morning or late night?
I am a night owl, so I could write all night long until the wee hours of the morning, but I cannot get up early and do it. So definitely late night.
Last one then. Family time. Quiet evening at home with your family or energetic family outing?
So when my family gets together, it's not quiet because we're big. But I love having them just over to my house or all of us getting together. It doesn't have to be fancy. I love spending time with my kids and my grandkids. That's
Mm,
the most precious time for me.
it is, it is. I love spending time with my kids as well. Yeah, I love my quiet time. So I love to have
Mhm.
quiet time with them, but with my kids, they are not quiet. My husband
Right.
is not quiet. Oh my God. So,
Yeah. I
okay,
understand. I relate.
you relate. Okay,
Hmm.
great. Okay, so you've already told us a bit about yourself, and you've already told us about why you wrote the journal Damaged Goods. Um, can you tell us where we can purchase your books and how to connect with you if we want to?
Oh, sure. My book is on Amazon, so you can find it on Amazon. It's Damaged
Yeah.
Goods by Stacy K. I did use a pen name because some of the things that are in there, I just don't. It's not to call people out or anything like that. I just really wanted it to be focused on God and the story, not on anybody else that's part of
Okay.
it. So no names are used that are real. They're all changed.
Okay.
And then yeah, you can connect with me there, and I'm not hard to find.
So can we connect with you on social media then?
Oh, absolutely. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, Stacy
Mhm.
K.
Okay.
You can find me there.
Okay, great. Okay. All that information will be in the show notes anyway for anyone that wants to connect with Stacy. If you want to relocate to Texas, our contact details over
I
there.
can help you. Yes.
She can help you.
Mhm.
Or if you're in Texas and you need a real estate agent, she's there for you. And also, if you would like to purchase devotional, I'm sure it would bless souls. The information will be there as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. Um, let's talk about the Shattered Dreams, your book. So it explores the theme of overcoming shattered dreams. So can you share a personal experience or story from your life, your own life, that led you to, go into this topic?
Absolutely. Um, I think one of the biggest ones was this whole dream that I had that, you get married, you have kids, you live happily ever after, because that's how it worked in my family. People didn't get divorced. People didn't, weren't abusive to one another. And so when I got married and I became, a victim basically of domestic abuse, and I went through all of that with the physical, the emotional, all of it. And then, to have my husband say, I don't want to be married to you anymore, and go through that divorce, it just completely shattered my world. Because at the time when I just, even though, it sounds crazy to me now to think that I would want to stay in that marriage. It was so ingrained in me that you don't get divorced and that's the wrong way. And you need to trust in God and you need to repair, that I felt like, I needed to stay there. And I would have, if it hadn't been for, specific events that happened. And so that was just a huge thing for me, because when I came out of that, I just was I was just completely shattered. I thought everything that he told me was true, that I was just this horrible person. I was ugly. I was unlovable. Nobody could ever love me. All of those things I felt were true of me. And, it took, God just kind of coming alongside of me as I started to pray and read my Bible. And he reminded me who I am and whose I am, and that I am a daughter of the King, and that he made me and he loves me. And I'm exactly who he created me to be. And that really restored me, because I was not somebody who, like, if you told me to be quiet, I would be louder. I wasn't somebody who was like somebody that you would think would just kind of take that type of treatment.
Mm.
So it was really, but I know a lot of people have gone through similar situations, and if not similar, they've gone through difficult times. So I thought that, sharing that could be helpful.
Right. So you talked about God's as the comforter. Yeah.
Hmm.
You mentioned that he's the ultimate comforter. So, how have you personally experienced God's comfort, and how would you say to those going through similar experience or challenges?
So when I went through all of these things, specifically the one I was just kind of talking about,
Yeah.
um, for me, I moved back home. I moved in with my parents. I had a 2.5-year old, and I was pregnant.
Mm.
And just, moving back into that environment, being reminded really of my faith and who I was, and really just, it really came down to me and God, just having that personal relationship, and just really making time to pray, to read my Bible, and to actually develop that relationship.
Yeah.
And that made all the difference to me, because you couldn't, I knew I couldn't count on other people. I had been down the road, and, people fail you, and you feel all completely alone. Like nobody is there for you and nobody loves you. But, you know, through reading God's word, through my prayers, through answered prayer, I just saw the hand of God. And I can even, when you remove yourself from that, it's even easier to see, right? When you're in the midst of it, sometimes it's hard.
Mm.
But I felt it, and it was a process. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't immediate. It was a process, but definitely God healed me through our relationship.
Mm. 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 Wow. So your key takeaways, um, they include themes of forgiveness. They include, strength, trusting God in difficult situations, just like you've just mentioned. Could you elaborate on how these aspects played a role in your own journey?
Yes, absolutely. Forgiveness was really pivotal for me, because I was very angry. I was harboring a lot of resentment towards my ex-husband because of the things that I went through. And we had 2 children together, and we had to meet and, swap kids. He remarried, I remarried, and I felt like they actually would do things to really just push my buttons.
Right.
And
Mm.
and I was very staunch that, my children will not be pawns. We're not gonna play games or anything like that. But they didn't. They didn't actually do all the things. They didn't. what's the word I want to say? They didn't adhere to the rules that I thought we should adhere to, where our relationship is between us
Mhm.
and your relationship with them is between you guys, and like leave the kids out of it. So they would just do things constantly to upset me or to try to, I felt like they were trying to use those kids. And that would frustrate me. And we would have words and things would get out of hand and, all of that. So, but there was one time I remember I specifically just got so upset and just really told my ex-husband what I thought. And then I felt very convicted when I got off the phone that this just was, I had to stop this. This was wrong. It was crazy, could not continue. And so I prayed about it and I called him right back up and I just said, listen, we are different people. We haven't been married for a very long time. We are still relating to one another as if we're the same people, and we're not. And, I just said, I am sorry for the things that I've done, and I am forgiving you for the things that you've done. And I'm just going to move on. And I am never going to talk to you like this again. We're not going to have these types of things again. And we didn't because he just kind of said, okay. I'm sure he didn't believe me, but I felt like that was a God thing. And I'll tell you, it released me. You don't realize how much forgiveness is for you. And I think I felt like I just wanted to show how strong I was to the kids. And, I was hanging on to that and not forgiving because I thought that looked weak, but it's actually a strength, that it's actually not weakness. And so I think that became a pivotal in just in my life overall because I let go of it and it didn't control me anymore. I didn't care what he did or didn't do as long as my children were safe. I didn't need to be in control of that.
Mm.
So that specifically, and I think that relates to strength because I think that made me a stronger person overall, being able to let go of that resentment and that, almost what you would call hatred. It really wasn't hatred. I really feel like it's more indifference, but just being able to let go of it and let God be in control of it. That
Yeah.
was that was huge.
That is really huge. That is really huge what you went through and how you overcame that the challenges and the strategy that you used actually to come out of it. So
Mhm.
how is this really crucial for your readers then?
I just think it's important for people to think about because when you're in the midst of something,
Mhm.
you you're just so involved in the emotion of it and it's so easy to get caught up in it that you don't necessarily step back and think rationally through it. And maybe you don't understand how forgiveness is really for you and
Yeah,
it's not for the other person. You think I'm letting them off the hook, but you're really not. It's really just you're letting yourself off the hook and you're letting yourself move forward because you can't move forward when you're embroiled in all of that.
that's
And I think
very.
that's really important for people to think about.
And when we forgive people, we are letting that part of us go. We're not holding on to things. So yeah, it's true. It's very true. So your audience connection then, giving feedback from your early readers. It seems your book actually really, we know it resonates with so many people. So how do you envision your message connecting with a broader audience, and what kind of impact do you hope the
So,
devotional will have on
interestingly,
this? Mm.
sorry, when I wrote the book, I
Yeah.
honestly I felt like, okay, I'm going to be obedient. I feel called to write this. I'm going to write it, and then if anything happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not thinking I'm quitting selling real estate or anything, I think this is, but I also, as I've gotten more feedback and I've felt like, it's actually making an impact for some people, I would love to do some speaking, with church groups or small groups or things like that, because I think that's where you make those connections and where you actually make a difference is
Mm.
having those relationships with people and being there for people. I've had people who've read my book who've reached out to me for encouragement or to tell me how it's encouraged them, and it's been a blessing to me. And I think it's been amazing to just see how they've um, some of the people have just like blossomed and grown. I had a lady reach out to me and said, I was literally going to work and coming home and getting on TikTok in my bed until I would fall asleep. And she said I was just so depressed. And she said, after reading your book, I realized that I'm not the only person who has these same feelings. I'm experiencing the same feelings you were feeling, and I just need to get back in my word. And she said, so I started coming home and I read your book and I read the Bible and I'm doing the devotional, and I'm so encouraged. And she started her own little small business. And I'm not taking credit for any of that, but I think that God is speaking to her.
So thank you for that. That was very inspirational. Thank you so much, taking us through your journey. I mean, a lot of people been through what you have been through, and it's really made them vulnerable, and they don't know how to get themselves back together. So I'm sure reading your journal and hearing this message would help them, at least help them to start.
I hope so.
Yeah. And bring them back to reality and know that they can help themselves. And there are people out there who can help them as well. Thank you so much for that. Any inspirational advice for our listeners, our audience out there?
I always think that it's good to remember that God knows you and that he sees you and that he loves you. And that is inspiring to me every day.
Thank you so much. God sees us, knows us, and he sees us. Yay!
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's
Absolutely.
it from myself and Stacy. Except if there's anything else you would like to add. Is there anything else you would like to say to us today before we round up?
No, I do have a website, StacyKBooks.com. And then, like we said before, we have social media. I would love to connect with anybody if they have questions or need encouragement or want to encourage me. I'd love to connect with people.
Great. Thank you so much for coming on our show today. And all that information will be in the show notes anyway, for any one of us that would like to connect with Stacy. Thank you so much for coming on our show today. And it's goodbye from myself.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Subscribe if you haven't done so. Like, follow, comment. Until next time. Goodbye.